welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You have a comedy show going on in Branson, Missouri right now, and your own club, is that right?
It's my own theater, yeah. It's hard to call it a club if it's 2,000 seats and a lot of, it's really state-of-the-art theater, so yeah.
And it's dinner with Yakov.
It's dinner with Yakov. We serve dinner to up to 2,000 people, yeah. So it's really exciting. People get a chance to see my show, and then we take a quick break, and when they watch like an episode of Night Court as we serve them dinner, and then I come back on stage and I have my dinner, and we have a conversation. That's how the show goes.
Night Court had a pretty long run on TV.
It did.
Yeah, what was your experience?
Oh, it was great. I was one of the first people that they hired. I think I was one of the first guest stars of episode number 4, I think. And it was, I knew Harry Anderson from the comedy clubs, and they approached me and said, "You'll be playing Yakov." Korolenko was my last name. But I said, "Okay, that sounds great." And it was a really great episode, and I got to work with a great cast. And Jay Sandrich, who was the director, who directed all Bill Cosby shows, he directed Mary Tyler Moore shows, Bob Newhart show. We became friends since then. So right now he's helping me. It's like 25 years later. He's helping me to put together a sitcom of my own, and so the relationship been that long. That's exciting, yeah. So the show was great. A lot of people still remember that show.
Tell us about the new sitcom.
Well, it's in works right now, and you see, I went to Branson, Missouri. Most people don't know, where I disappeared to, and I've been there for the last 22 years, and since then there are a lot of changes that happened in my life. I have 2 kids, grown kids, and I went for a divorce, and I started realizing that laughter was in the beginning of the relationship, but then it wasn't later on, and then in the end, the only people who were laughing were the attorneys, divorce attorneys. And so I started tracing the laughter and going, I think I can help people as a comedian to recognize that laughter can be really a gauge of the health of the relationship. And so I went back to college, went to University of Pennsylvania, and got my master's degree, and in year 2006 graduated with my master's degree in psychology. So I teach now at Missouri State University. I'm a professor, and I teach the course on love and laughter. And so it became kind of my passion. So this sitcom will be about relationships. It would be something that I think people need to see, that you can use laughter as a gauge and it can keep you on track. And so that's what I'm doing, developing it.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Well, thank you.
I don't want to talk about myself too much, but one of the things, I'm single, one of the things I'm looking for is somebody that makes me laugh. And if I meet with someone for lunch and I don't find any laughter in an hour and a half, I can't go there anymore. So
I understand.
I think what you want to teach people is wonderful. Could you give us an example of how relationships might keep the laughter?
I can give you brush strokes. It's really not about telling jokes or being funny, even that, because in the beginning of the relationship, everybody remembers a lot of laughter. And they were not professional comedians, And so in my course, I teach people how to sustain laughter in the bedroom and not pointing and laughing, because you don't need master's degree for that. Bachelor's is plenty. And so it's about understanding how laughter happens. It's like a science of laughter, really. And if you look at if you tell a joke, it's very structured. There's setup, there's punchline, and there's laughter. 3 things. In the beginning of the relationship, we have similar stages. honeymoon stage is that setup, when we think about what would that other person want, what do they need, and we go out of our way to listen to some boring stuff just because we know they need to be heard. And they listen to us and things, and we're willing to put up with this, but that's like nature's free introductory offer. And then you got to pay full price. And we stop doing the setup. We still want the laughter, but we're not doing a setup. It doesn't work that way. So once you dissect it that way or deconstruct it, then you start realizing, oh, the reason it's not working because I'm not doing the setup for this punchline. It won't work. Anybody can tell you that. So that's basically it's a very much a brushstroke.
But you do think that couples can regain it if they start to pay conscious attention?
Absolutely, absolutely. And most of it comes from this obvious statement that men and women are different. And we're not talking about physical difference, that's obvious. But we're talking about hormonal, neurological, psychological, all of those different. We don't normally know what the other person wants. And we're giving them what we want. They don't want it. So laughter dies. And then intimacy, that goes laughter, goes your intimacy, and then goes your house. That in that order.
And then the attorneys are laughing.
Well,
all the way to the bank.
Before the house, yeah. Yeah.
So when did you in your life realize that you were funny, or that you felt funny, or noticed people were laughing at things you said?
I think it started when I was really little, and we had a very humble lifestyle. We lived in a communal apartment with 9 families. Each family occupied a room in the apartment. I'm not exaggerating this. So some family would live in a den, some people live in the living room, some people lived in bedrooms, and so my parents and I shared the bedroom till I was 26 years old, and I'm not making this up. This was like a regular life in the Soviet Union at that time. And so I remember one time my parents wanted to be romantic, and they sent me to look out the window. And then my dad said, "So what do you see in the window?" And I said, "Our neighbors being romantic." And he said, "How can you tell?" I said, "Because their son is looking at me." And my parents laughed, and it was so wonderful. I mean, to hear their laughter, because all of a sudden there was all that neurons in my brain would start going, they're happy, and I made them happy, and I want to do that more often, and that's what happened. If they didn't want to be romantic, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
In the Ukraine right now, if there's a crisis there, as we all know. How do you think people are getting along there now? Do you have relatives there?
I do, and I have a cousin there that I stay in touch on a weekly basis, and it's not easy. They're struggling, and they don't know. Its uncertainty is more probably devastating because he's in Odessa, where I grew up, and that area is pretty safe. There has not been major crisis at this moment. However, they're all uncertain what's going to happen. But yet they have a good sense of humor about this. They're saying that there's new Ukrainian ice cream called Rutin Tutin Putin. And you don't have to eat it, they'll shove it down your throat. So it's kind of they'll find a way to make fun of it. It's the way of survival there.
Well, that's good to hear. Laughter can still happen.
Be there,
like
absolutely.
I think Hillary Clinton would probably really like that joke.
I think she would, yes.
I think. So on your website, which is fantastic, you have shots of Schmiernaught.
Yes.
Can you tell us how you came about being Yakov Smirnoff?
Well, Yakov is my real name, and I became, when I came to America, my last name is Pokhis, which was not very catchy, and I was a bartender, and I'm not kidding. So people would ask for Schmiernaught, and that was easy for them to say. And little by little, I start joking around and say, I'm Yakov Smirnoff. You can have me on the rocks or with a twist or whatever. And it kind of caught on, and that's how I became Yakov Smirnoff.
I think I saw one of the shots that you have, your video plays.
Yes.
Was when you were on Johnny Carson.
Yes.
That looked like it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh. But nerve-wracking as well. You got to understand this. This took me 6 years to get on that show, since I came to, and I did movies before that, Moscow on the Hudson. I did Money Pit with Tom Hanks. I did Miller Lite commercial, and I had an issue, or the producer, Jim McCauley, was the talent coordinator for the comedians, and he didn't care for my humor. For some reason, he just didn't like it. And so he would come to the Comedy Store, and I would invite him there and say, watch my new material, maybe you like it. And he would come back and go, no, it's not working for me, it's not working for me. So then finally he got tired of coming there, and he said, listen, I'll be honest with you, you'll get on that show when hell freezes over. I'm not kidding. So I started watching Weather Channel, just in case, right? And then Johnny Carson saw my Miller Lite commercial, and he said to Jim, I guess, why don't we have him on the show? And he said, oh, we were about to. So then I get the phone call that you kind of want to get, and he said, well, Johnny likes you, and he wants you on the show. I said, of course. So I did the show, and it went so well that in the commercial break, Jim McCauley comes over to me and he said, hey, can you do another set like this a couple of weeks from now? I said, start watching Weather Channel. There's information there you want to see. So, but I did it like 7 times. It was really amazing to be on that, in his presence, and hear him laugh. He was a great audience. You know, I sat down on the couch. I wasn't expecting to, because it was like, normally first-time comedians never got to sit on the couch. But he waved me over, and I sat down, and I said, Johnny, you know, in America you have things that we never had in Russia, like policemen have warning shots. And he almost fell off the chair. And it was like, oh my God, it was great.
And you have a book, Smirnoff for the Soul.
Yeah.
Is that a textbook for your class?
No, it was written before the class, and it was kind of my soul search. It has 3 sections. It goes from getting, having, and giving. Or maybe it was get it, got it, give it. That was 3 G's, 3 G forces that I thought. I was kind of, when I came to America, it was all about me getting things, you know, because I never had a car, I never had a house, I never had the phone. I never had a phone. Things like that. So it was all about consuming. It was all about getting stuff. And then it's realizing that I got it. I got things in my life that I never imagined having. And then recognizing the power of giving and be able to understand what people really need and give that. And I think that that's a very powerful time in my life, because I feel very healthy and strong, and I feel like I got the knowledge that most people may be looking for, but they're not sure how to get it. As a comedian, I have a different perspective on life, and I think early when I came to America, I kind of fell into Cold War was really hot at that time, and I didn't even realize how lucky I was to get into all these movies and television, but I was successful because of that. And then the Cold War ended, and it gave me a chance to really find who I am, and now able to give that knowledge through different forms of entertainment.
What advice would you give to a young person today starting out as a stand-up comedian, or someone that wanted to get into that? What advice would you have?
Well, I think there's pretty simple advice. If you're willing to be rejected over and over and over and over again, stay in comedy. Because if you're good, you will rise, but you need to be prepared to be, because every joke is a test and saying, do you still like me? Do you still like what I'm doing? And a lot of times the answer is no. You didn't figure out what we need, and we don't like you anymore. Now, next joke, we might like you again, but most people don't have that capacity to go for that.
So a thick skin is a good thing to have.
Yeah, oh yeah. And the tenacity, desire, I mean, that's what will keep you in the game.
Sorry. How do we find you on social media? You have a website. Do you tweet and Twitter and Instagram?
I actually, it's being buttoned up as we speak, literally. I mean, we were driving today to come here, and we were working on what the format all of those medias would take. I haven't really, when people told me that on Twitter people follow you, anytime you tell a Russian guy that somebody's going to follow him, especially more than one person, I mean, that's a lot of pressure. So I have not really embraced it as much as I probably should, but it is being in the works, and I think it's going to be pretty soon.
Would you ever consider going on Dancing with the Stars?
Yes, I would.
I think you'd be fantastic on that.
I think what I believe needs to happen, and I thought about this, it's funny you're asking this, because last year I had a meeting at ABC, and the gentleman who was in charge of that was asking me would I do it, and I said yes, I would love to do it. And then unfortunately he was let go like 2 days later, and he'd been there like for 15 years, and it was shocking. But so that kind of got put on hold, but I still believe that that's something I would like to do. And I think I should be dancing with Karina Smirnoff. That way you get double shot of Schmiernaught.
I agree. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Football season is upon us. Are you a sports fan?
No.
No sports at all for you? How about Olympics?
Yeah, you see, I grew up in Russia, and hockey was huge in Russia, right? And I spent a lot of time on ice as a puck. So it wasn't my strength. So I found my strength in comedy. So to intelligently talk about sports, people say Super Bowl, all of that, and I go, great. I don't understand why grown men bend over and touch each other on national television. I don't get it. But you guys like it, go for it, So it never caught on for me.
It's been really lovely talking to you, and just a pleasure. Really.
Thank you.
It's a real pleasure.
Thank you.